Welcome to the van. Let's show you around. But before we show you inside, let's talk about the outside. This is a 2008 Mercedes Sprinter long wheelbase. She used to carry 12 people, but now she only carries 2 because we converted her over 6 months into our tiny home. She's 7 meters long, and because we popped the roof rack and the deck on top, she's 2.85 meters high, which is another way of saying we cannot drive under anything ever. We opted out of having a permanently mounted ladder because we wanted the flexibility of being able to take it off and on. And we also didn't want to add extra width to an already very, very hefty van.
This is the deck, and it's the best seat in the house. It's made out of pine wood decking on top of a tradesman roof rack. That's all bolted down and then riveted onto the roof. Then we've cut a hole in the back of it so that we can fit our max air fan. And up the front, we've got 2 solar panels that charge everything inside the van.
There are 8 windows on the body of the van, 3 on each side and 2 at the back. They are super dark tint, which is great for people watching. This is even better when someone comes up and peers through the window and they cannot tell that we are staring them right in the face. That's it for the outside of the van. Let's go in. First thing you need to know is that we have a strict no shoe policy in the van. But don't worry, there's handy shoe storage right as you walk in.
When building the van, we tried to use as many recycled materials as possible, such as our recycled cedar timber ceiling, as well as our recycled timber floors. Sometimes it doesn't really work out if you're going to do the free thing on Facebook Marketplace. One thing that really screwed us over was we siliconed in our soap dispenser and then found out that the one that was sold to us didn't work. So we've had to like jerry-rig a second solution, which is this black soap dispenser that doesn't match the rest of our countertop. This is the front of the van. We didn't make a lot of changes, but we did build out this shelf that's above your heads. We call it the bulkhead shelf. It did mean that we took out the liner that was originally there, so we remounted these visors as well as the lights. And then up the front we put in a simple phone mount. And we put in these fluffy seat covers thanks to our friend Naomi. The bulkhead is about 10% of our storage. It's mainly for like the bulky items like our winter clothes, towels, sleeping bags. And we keep our blinds up here for putting up on the windows, all that jazz. Between the bulkhead and the pantry, we left a little gap where we store the curtain. We use that and we pull it out so that we can keep the front of the van cool when we're driving, and the back can stay warm at nighttime. It also keeps all of the light out.
This is the kitchen. We love cooking, and it was really important for us to have a lot of bench space, which meant that we had to sacrifice the bed length for extra countertop, but we think it's the right choice. The countertop is an acacia wood slab which we got from Bunnings. We then cut the holes in it, oiled it, and waxed it, and she's good as gold. We have a really deep sink, and we wanted one because it means that we can chuck all our dirty dishes and get on the road as soon as possible if we need to. Generally, we try and wash up every single meal, which our family will laugh at because we're not very good at washing up. But this way, if we need to, and we absolutely need to, we can chuck all the dirty dishes in there and they don't move around. We decided to go with a dish mat rather than a dish rack. It is so much more space efficient and it does exactly the same thing. The tap we got from Facebook Marketplace, again, from someone who was throwing it out for really cheap. It was missing an O-ring, but we got out jail free by just replacing that so it doesn't leak anymore. The tap also has a mixer, but we don't have a water heater. So what that means is if you turn it to the cold side, you get water straight from the tank. And if you turn it to the hot side, you get water that goes through a 2-stage filter. We went with a double burner gas stove, which is great, but if you're building a van in Australia and you're thinking about putting gas in, just be aware that there are heaps of regulations around putting gas in your van and what you need to do to correctly vent it. We were not aware of this before we decided to buy the stove and cut the hole. It was only after we'd done those things that we discovered that we needed to pay a buttload of money to get someone to install it. Just a handy tip. We went with a honeycomb tile splashback. Each of these is a 30 by 30 centimeter square. Actually super easy to put on, and it's really easy to wipe down and keep clean, which is a bonus. And then up here, we have my favorite part of the van. I love jars. You get to show what you have in your pantry as well as use what you have in your pantry. So it's simultaneously design and practicality. Boom. Amazing. This was the most measured thing in the entire van build. We measured this thing so many times, reason being, we didn't want the jars to rattle, but we still needed to be able to get the jars in and out. We were 90% successful. Some of the positions that the jars are in, you can't get them out, which just means you need to move one on either side of it. Quinoa, coffee beans, chia seeds, rice, oats, crackers, we're out, we eat a lot of crackers. Sunflower seeds, lentils, pasta, coconut, scroggin, assorted nuts, more coffee beans, breadcrumbs, and flour. I love jars!
In addition to the jars, we also have the floor-to-ceiling pantry. On the side of it, we put a chalkboard. It says welcome now. Normally it just has a list of things for me to do that Sarah's written down. Inside the pantry, we also have a floor-to-ceiling mirror. A lot of people complain about not having a full mirror in their van. We have one, which means Sarah looks great all the time. Top shelf has all of our assorted teas, as well as our Weet-Bix cereal. On the second shelf, we've got 4 of most things. So we've got 4 bowls, 4 small plates, 4 large plates. They're all made out of bamboo, which means that they are easy on the environment and sustainable. Also got 4 mugs, and then 2 wine glasses and some keep cups at the back. On the middle shelf, we've got a lot of our cookware. So we've got our skillet, which is our most used and favorite pan, and then a couple other pots and steamers. There is a cheese board, which we use all the time because we love cheese. Then you've got our chopping boards for prep work stuff, cheese grater, and a measuring cup and mixing bowls up the back tucked in there. On the bottom 2 shelves, we have our storage containers to keep leftovers in. We've also got this handy little drill, and if you're thinking, why do you have a drill in the pantry? It's because I've got a coffee grinder, which no longer has a handle to crank it with, so we use the drill for that. And on the bottom shelf, we've got any food item that doesn't fit in the jars and doesn't need to go in the fridge. Nothing fell out.
Yes!
Woo! This is our fridge. It is a 110-liter mini fridge that runs off of AC power, actually. And most people we've heard go for a DC fridge because the AC fridge can be less efficient. But ours has been fine. For me, the most important thing in any fridge is a very large tub of hummus. Sarah says I should eat less hummus. Sarah's wrong.
We don't have any stairs, but we do have a cupboard under the sink, which is where Harry would live if he was here. We put this hook in because we had nowhere to put our tea towel. Currently, it would ruin aesthetics, so we've removed it and instead put this fruit basket net thing, which we really like, but a word to the wise, don't put any soft fruit in there, like avocado. It will cruise for a bruise, if you know what I'm saying. In here we keep our toaster, which is the only electrical appliance that we have. We thought it would blow our power joint, but it turns out, no, we're totally fine. So we got a toaster. We also have a kettle, but it's a gas stovetop kettle, which is just a lot of fun. I feel really bougie when I use it. Dustpan and broom, we got fire starters. This is where we keep all our vegetables that like to be in the dark. Back there we keep our chips. At the moment we're running very, very low, like critically low. We love chips. Tissues, and then down here we have a double bin. Back bin is for recycling. I'm not going to show you don't need to look at our trash. And then we do plastics up the top here. And then to the left we have our soda stream. Yes, we did bring a soda stream.
So we got fizzly water anytime we want it.
And the basket to its left is full of cleaning supplies, soap, a moisture absorber, bin liners, that type of thing. And then at the back we have our laundry detergent. This is called a small handy shelf. It holds our oil and our scrubbing brush, as well as some washing liquid and some other soap and our Chuck's wipes. It's just really, really nice to have it on the door. Very accessible. Highly recommend.
Like most top drawers, we have our cutlery. Unlike most top drawers, at the back we have our toothbrushes and toothpaste and deodorant. Our second drawer is entirely dedicated to spices. Not gonna lie, I'm living the dream. I've always wanted to have an entire drawer dedicated to spices, and now I do. We've even got exotic things like pumpkin pie spice. In our third drawer, we have all of our utensils. So we've got things like a flippy flip, a bashing stick, a lemon squeezer, and your classic grabbers. How do you know that you've got 2 city kids living in a van? The largest drawer is dedicated entirely to toiletries. We try not to smell. This last cupboard is our tech cupboard. We have our drone and computer gear, that sort of thing. In the middle, we've put a backpack that keeps our computers and other editing equipment. And on the bottom is a weird shaped shelf because it's got the tire of the van in it. But at the front of it, we've got a basket full of books, which serves as our library. Also, I should mention that I built all of these myself. So they're not perfect, a little wonky, but they work. The cupboards have little latches that keep them from swinging open, and the drawers have little catches.
On the right hand side as you walk in is our bench seat, which is also a chest. We keep a lot of fun things in here, including our beach umbrella, a couple of yard games, our hammock, and some daily things like our shopping bags, and these 2 boxes here hold our toilet paper. Very important. The chest is also home to our information panel, which tells us how our batteries are charging, how our water levels are going, and this is the switch for the water pump. Another thing we keep in the chest is this leg, which is for our dining table. It helps to keep it stable when the table is fully extended. And if you've got a keen eye, you will have noticed that the benchtop wood is the same wood as the table, is the same wood as the chest. The invisible shelves you may or may not see right here are my proudest achievement. I built them all myself. It took me many, many hours. They hold all our clothes. Zane has 2 and I have 2, and basically that's our wardrobe. My ones are the back 2 over the bed, and I really like to use packing cubes to keep everything nice and tidy. We got these at Kathmandu. They were on clearance and they have been a lifesaver. Essentially, this one holds all my t-shirts. I roll them up, I pop them in, and there's no mess. I get a lot of questions, especially from my gal pals, about how I survive with such a small wardrobe. The answer is this wardrobe is basically the same size as I had when we were living in an apartment. But also, if you remember the bulkhead shelf, we each have a winter cube, which holds all of our warm clothes, jeans, a puffy jacket, that type of thing. So when we say that this is our wardrobe, we also have some wardrobe living up the front.
My wardrobe has all of my t-shirts rolled and stacked and shorts rolled and stacked on this side, and the front one has socks and undies in a packing cube. I have been generous enough to donate half of my space to this power outlet so that we can take all of our stuff that needs charging, chuck it in here, plug it in, shut the door, and forget about it. This is our bed. It is a double memory foam mattress. We actually had to cut it a little bit short because when we built the walls, they came in so much on either side, thus cutting the mattress short. However, I still have enough room to sleep because the window recess means that my feet can go all the way this way and my head can go all the way to that end, and I have just enough space left. A few things to note. These fairy lights are for when you're going to sleep because the switch is here at the back as opposed to the light switch for the normal lights, which is up the front of the van. Speaking of lights, if you've got lights on inside the van and it's dark outside the van, that is the one time you can see in through the windows. So we have some blockout curtains made by our friend Roz, and we put those up by sticking the magnets onto the van wall. And now we're going to show you underneath the bed. So we call this area of the van our garage. It's where we keep all the things that make the van tick. It's got our batteries, our water tanks, water pump, all the things that make the batteries run, and our gas storage. So on the left side of the van, we keep all of our battery electrical system. So batteries are here. The panel that holds all of the fuses and whatnot is on that side. For batteries, we have 4 140 amp hour AGM batteries, which means we have 560 amp hours total. They just run off of 12 volt. So the batteries are there. They're actually charged by this black box. It's a Redarc 1240 BCDC solar regulator / battery charger. So the solar panels, which are on the roof, we have 300 watts of solar panels, and they come down through that black Redarc box and charge our batteries from the sun. They're also hooked up through a wire underneath the van to our battery at the front, so that if we're running low, the alternator of the van will also charge our batteries. We've not actually used that yet because we have so much power from the sun that we have never been able to get below 98% charge on our batteries, which is pretty schmick. The blue box is our Victron inverter. So we have 1200 watts of AC power, and that's what we use to go to the outlets for charging our devices, as well as running our mini fridge. And then for DC power, that runs through a simple fuse box, and that's powering the lights, the water pump, and a few other things. Last thing to point out, this little box here, which is a shunt. All of the power for the battery system runs through that shunt, which means we can have entire inputs and outputs through the system, which gives us things like battery percentage and how much usage we're having. And because it's a Victron shunt that runs to their Bluetooth battery monitor, it means I have on my phone an app that tells me at all times how much power we have. The water tanks sit at the back of the garage. We've got 3 modular water tanks that are stacked on top of each other. So they're 43 liters of water apiece, which gives us about 120 liters of usable water before it starts going glug, 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 glug. From the water tanks, the water flows out to our water pump, which pumps it out to the sink as well as to a shower that we have at the back. The water pump is just a 12-volt water pump that gives us a flow rate of 9 liters per minute. We wanted a slow flow rate in order to help us use less water. And as far as monitoring how much water we're using, water from the tanks flows through a water tank monitor, which just monitors the amount of water that's flowing through the pipe. And then that counts down from 120 liters. So every time we fill up, we just reset it, and then it gives us a digital countdown as water flows out of the tank. As far as filling up our water tanks, what we use is this green hose. It's 5 meters long, and it hooks up to any spigot so that we can fill up off of any main water supply. And that runs through this inline water filter to keep sediment out of the water before it gets to our water tanks. And then for our shower, we just have a simple hose here out the back so we can shower in the cold. Just pops out behind the van and you're in the elements, getting clean. These 2 little suckers are the air vents for the water tank so that when we're filling up and when we're emptying it, air can get in and out. And this little box at the back is our gas storage.
This little compartment is only accessible from the outside as per regulations in Australia for having gas bottles. It holds a 9-kilo gas bottle and we have a little gauge that tells us how full or empty it is. So far we've been on the road for about 2 months and we haven't had to replace it. And then we have a regulator at the back corner which runs the line to the stove inside. We cut the hole ourselves and installed the box, but the line and the stove installation were done by a professional. That's actually the only thing in the entire build that we had someone else do. That is our home. You are welcome anytime. Drop us a line, come and say hey, we'd love to meet you. We are currently on a 12-month trip around Australia, maybe longer, depending on how things go. And we'd love for you to come join us in person or hit the subscribe button and you can follow our journey.
If you have any questions about the van or how we built it, things that we missed, please ask us in the comments below. We'd love to hear your questions.